Hi, it's Taylor T. Carlson. I'm here with another video for you. This week, I'm going to be reviewing the film Pokemon the Movie, I Choose You. If you're familiar with the Pokemon franchise, you've probably experienced the anime, the manga, the video games. It's a mega franchise, and 20 years on, it doesn't really show any signs of letting down. I still see people playing Pokemon Go in public places all the time, and this movie came out a few years ago, and it was largely intended as something of a reboot of the anime movie timeline. In the movie, our hero, Ash Ketchum, just turned 10 years old, and he's setting out on his Pokemon journey to go capture monsters, do battles, become the best trainer that he can possibly be. But of course, nothing goes as expected. Early in his journey, he encounters a legendary Pokemon, and he's haunted by the visions of this, and learns a little more from other trainers, and he sets out on his journey, becomes friends with a few other trainers, deals with Pokemon criminal organizations, and ultimately it leads to a large climactic battle. About 20 years ago, when the Pokemon franchise was first released in America, I followed it pretty religiously. I watched the cartoon all the time. I went and saw the movies in theaters, but after a while I kind of lost track of the TV show because they kept changing the time it was on and they kept deviating from the games too much, so I kind of lost interest and mainly stuck with the main series video games. I have to say, I think this was a good idea to try to reboot the franchise after 2 decades. Nice way to celebrate the anniversary. Unfortunately, the movie simply is not that good. The biggest problem this movie has is it has no idea what it wants to do. It goes in so many different directions. It tries to shoehorn in new, uninteresting characters while relegating old favorites to cameos, if they even get that much. The biggest problem I had with this movie is it doesn't have Brock and Misty, who are Ash Ketchum's main friends in the anime series, and instead we get 2 generic characters who are thinly veiled ripoffs of Misty and Brock, and neither one of which is nearly as interesting. They're about as one-dimensional as you can imagine, and given the one-off characters in this franchise, that really says something. One of the most ridiculous and commonly criticized elements of this movie is there's actually a scene later in the film where Pikachu actually speaks a line or 2 of dialogue in plain English. Not only is this about as hokey and overdramatic as you can possibly expect, but on top of that, the thing that Pikachu says makes absolutely no sense. I'm not going to go into specifics because this is not a spoiler review, but when you see the movie, I think you'll have a pretty good idea of what I mean. In addition to a lot of hero characters being relegated to cameos, if even that, you've got Team Rocket showing up throughout the movie, and they're basically in each scene for a few seconds, and they get blasted away like they always do. And that's literally the only thing they do in this entire movie. You could have left Team Rocket out of this movie altogether, and nobody would know the difference. There's even a sequence in this movie where Ash loses a battle and spends several minutes of the film just moping about it. By this point, he has 3 Pokemon League badges. Do you seriously think the guy hadn't lost once in the whole time to get that far? I mean, again, it veers on ridiculousness. I love this franchise, and I love seeing what they do, especially in the anime and movies from time to time. I admit I don't follow them as closely as I once did, but every now and then they can still entertain, considering we've got 800 plus monsters in this franchise and quite the cast of secondary and tertiary characters. But again, it does kind of sum up all the reasons why I lost track of the animated stuff to begin with. I also want to point out, for anyone who's like a longtime viewer of the franchise, there was some press built up that Veronica Taylor, the original Ash Ketchum voice actress, might be returning to this film to reprise the role, and unfortunately, that ended up not being the case. Like, everyone's been recast at some point. Again, I don't follow super close track of that, but the replacement actors just left me yearning for the original anime actors. And unfortunately, like every Pokemon DVD release, there's no original Japanese audio track. This is literally the only anime franchise available in America where this is the case. It's 2019. Get with the program. The movie at least has some decent action sequences. It tries to bring in a lot of the monsters from the various generations of games, but it ultimately just culminates in a conclusion, a big final battle that feels like it's ripped off from every other movie ever made. And as much as I hate to say it, I can't give this movie a very high rating. If you're going by my usual 4-star scale, this would be about a 1.5 out of 4. It's too much to put into one movie, and they can't decide what direction they want to take the movie in. It's very disappointing considering rebooting the franchise should have been such a great thing. Great way to celebrate 20 years of Pokemon. And instead we get something that's just, well, a mess. This movie may be a worthwhile diversion if you're a diehard fan of the franchise who must see and experience everything, but outside of that little circle, there's just no way I can recommend this film. And did you like Pokemon the movie, I Choose You? Did you dislike it? Do you prefer the TV series over the movies? What's your opinion? Go ahead and comment in the section below. Just please keep it civilized. And be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And I'll be back with more movie, game, music, comic reviews before you know it. This is Taylor T. Carlson. I will see you in my next video.